Okay, the next item of business is a debate on motion 19613 in the name of Richard Lockhead on UEFA European Championship Scotland Bill at stage 1. I'd invite members wishing to participate to press the request to speak buttons, and I call on Richard Lockhead to speak to and move the motion. A generous 8 minutes. Minister.
Thank you, Deputy Presiding Officer. As we meet today, Armistice Day, the 11th of November, wearing our poppies to discuss the UEFA European Championship Scotland Bill and the opportunity it brings for our nation, we do so, of course, on a day of profound reflection. And today is a time when we all paused to honour the courage and sacrifice of those who gave their lives in service to our country. So it is with that spirit of respect and unity that we look to the future. And sport brings nations and us all together. So I now want to turn to the specifics of the Stage 1 debate on the UEFA European Championships Bill. Firstly, can I thank the Constitution Europe External Affairs and Cultural Committee for its constructive scrutiny. I also thank all who contributed evidence, including UEFA, the Scottish Football Association, Police Scotland and the Scottish Human Rights Commission. The Scottish Government welcomes the committee's support for the Bill's general principles and has considered its recommendations carefully. We are committed to working with Parliament and stakeholders to ensure this legislation is proportionate, effective and fit for purpose. The bill is a vital step in enabling Scotland to play its part in hosting Euro 2028. In the more immediate future, of course, our attention is perhaps more focused in the next few days when Scotland's men team play crucial qualifiers against Greece and Denmark for next year's World Cup. So I know I speak for us all when I say that we wish Steve Clarke and the team all the best. However, in 2028, the Euros are coming to Scotland. Euro 2028 will be the largest major sporting event ever jointly staged by the UK and Ireland. It will be a month-long celebration of football. Scotland will host matches at Hampden Park in Glasgow, welcoming fans from across Europe and no doubt beyond as well. The tournament is about football, but also about so much more. Euro 2028 aligns with our national priorities as a government, supporting economic growth, promoting inclusion and, of course, showcasing Scotland internationally. Our successful joint bid for Euro 2028 reflects Scotland's significant experience and global reputation for hosting major events. While our hosting of Euro 2020 was shaped by the pandemic, Euro 2028 offers a fresh opportunity to provide a warm Scottish welcome and, of course, deliver really vibrant celebrations, hopefully all the way to the final match. During Euro 2024, we saw the enthusiasm and positive reputation of Scottish supporters abroad, so we want to build on that again in 2028. The tournament will boost tourism and hospitality in Scotland and promote our culture at the same time. Glasgow will host at least one official UEFA fan zone, extending the experience beyond Hampden Park. And a Euro 2028 UK and Ireland Social Impact Fund of £45 million is jointly supported by the Government and football partners also. So that's intended to deliver benefits right across these islands and Ireland as well. Now, to host Euro 2028, Scotland must meet UEFA's requirements for protecting commercial rights. Conditions apply to all host nations. While some protections exist, additional legislation is required, and the bill focuses on three key areas. Firstly, prohibiting unauthorised sale of tickets for more than face value or for profits. Secondly, restricting unauthorised street trading and advertising with designated event zones. And thirdly, providing enforcement powers to implement these protections effectively. These measures are time-limited, proportionate and targeted. The bill will automatically be repealed on the 31st of December 2028. Now, I welcome the committee's Stage 1 report and, of course, want to turn to some of its key themes. The committee asked for clarification on whether it will be legal under the bill to resell a ticket online at face value. So I can confirm that the bill defines ticket touting as the unauthorised sale of a championship ticket, either for more than its face value or with a view to making a profit. This means that reselling a ticket at face value is not in itself an offence, provided the seller does not intend to make profit from the transaction. However, UEFA's ticketing terms and conditions may prohibit tickets being resold, except via an unauthorised resale platform. While such activity would not be a criminal offence under the bill, it could result in the ticket being voided by UEFA under those conditions once they're published. The committee also asked how ticketing offences will be addressed across borders. On that, we are working with the UK Government and other host nations to support an aligned approach. The committee raised concerns about the potential impact of the bill on street traders, so we recognise the importance of Euro 2028 to local businesses, including street traders, in addition to what they could expect usually. So the bill requires Glasgow City Council to offer alternative trading arrangements to affected street traders, and we welcome the intention to waive temporary licence fees for those affected traders as well. The bill also requires Glasgow City Council to publish guidance for businesses, and of course we will continue engagement with businesses and communities as the detail of event zones is developed in the coming months. The committee sought a reassurance that the enforcement powers in the bill are proportionate and compatible with human rights. The Scottish Government is committed to ensuring that enforcement powers are exercised in a manner compatible with human rights. Enforcement officers will be subject to the legal obligations placed on public authorities under the Human Rights Act 1998, and the bill's enforcement powers mirror those under existing legislation such as the Consumer Rights Act 2015 and include safeguards. For example, enforcement officers may enter premises only with permission or a warrant. Without these, then, using reasonable force to enter is a decision for a police constable, not an enforcement officer, and entry to people's homes is subject to additional safeguards as well. The committee rightly highlighted the importance of protecting freedom of expression and the right to protest, so this bill supports legitimate protest. It includes exemptions for peaceful protest, and Police Scotland will uphold rights to protest and for freedom of expression. We are discussing, monitoring and reporting of human rights impacts with Glasgow City Council and other partners as well, and these discussions are ongoing. Finally, the committee reiterated its predecessor's recommendation that the Scottish Government should consider developing an events framework bill. So whilst we see potential benefits of that route, bespoke legislation for Euro 2028 is the suitable approach here, consistent with previous major events and deliverable within the required timescales as well. But we do remain open to exploring the case for a general major events bill in future. But that would require careful consideration and engagement with stakeholders that would not have been possible within the overall timelines for Euro 2028. So in conclusion, Deputy Presiding Officer, Euro 2028 is a really significant opportunity for Scotland, economically, culturally and for our reputation as well. This bill is essential to meeting our obligations as a host nation and delivering a successful tournament that benefits communities right across the country. We have taken a very collaborative approach, working with UEFA, Glasgow City Council, Glasgow Life, Police Scotland and so many others. And we will continue these constructive engagements as the bill progresses. So I invite Parliament to support the general principles of the UEFA European Championship Scotland Bill. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. I now call on Claire Adamson on behalf of the Constitution, Europe, External Affairs and Culture Committee. A generous 7 minutes. Ms Adamson.
Thank you very much, Presiding Officer. And can I associate myself with the Minister's comments regarding Armistice Day today, and also indeed back up his support for the Scottish team. I think that demonstrates the power of football in that it can actually result in a round of applause across the chamber, which is something that we don't often see united in this place. So I was very glad to be the convener of the Constitution, Europe, External Affairs and Culture Committee to see this Stage 1 report on the UEFA European Championship Scotland Bill published. I would like to thank my committee members and colleagues for their work in scrutinising the bill, as well as members of the Delegated Powers and Law Reform and Finance and Public Administration Committees for their contribution to the scrutiny of the bill. On behalf of the committee, I also wish to thank all of those who provided evidence to the committee and for their time and contributions. And of course, I pay tribute to the committee clerks, without whom this work could not have been completed. The Scottish Government states that the bill is intended to establish commercial rights protections in line with requirements of UEFA ahead of hosting the Euro 2028 matches in Hampden Park. The bill includes provision to ban certain commercial activities, such as the unauthorised resale of tickets above face value or with a view of making a profit, and unauthorised street trading and advertising within the Championship event zone. The bill also provides enforcement powers, created a criminal offence of obstructing enforcement officers in their duties, and requires that Glasgow City Council publish guidance and offer alternative trading arrangements to affected street traders. Our scrutiny considered the bill's intentions and provisions, and our Stage 1 report outlines several questions and recommendations regarding the bill. I would like to thank the Minister and his officials for their response to the committee's report, which addresses these points. I would also like to thank UEFA and Scotland and Ireland 2028 Limited for providing their joint response to the report. Turning to the findings of our report. Regarding the bill's provisions, given the ticket touting offence included in the bill, we sought to clarify from the Scottish Government on whether reselling tickets at face value will be legal. I welcome the Scottish Government's confirmation that, providing the seller does not intend to profit from the transaction, this will not be an offence. Our report also raised concerns regarding the potential impact on street traders on the bill's street trading restrictions. As all hosting authorities will be required to undertake a range of measures during the championships, including taking all reasonable measures to prohibit, restrict and prevent unauthorised street trading. We asked the Government what further engagement it will undertake with street traders ahead of the tournament. The bill also requires Glasgow City Council to offer alternative arrangements to affected street traders and to provide guidance on the restrictions, and our report asks the Council to clarify how guidance will be communicated and how impacts on street traders will be minimised. We also asked UEFA to clarify what assessments it had undertaken relating to the potential impact of the restrictions on street traders. In response, they stated that they are keen for local businesses to feel the benefits of hosting the championship. We also sought clarity on the bill's enforcement provisions, particularly the power to enter and search a place, though not a house, without permission or warrant, if a police constable believes that there is a real and substantial risk that delay in seeking a warrant would defeat the purpose of taking action. And we took quite considerable time over this issue. Our report asked that the Scottish Government clarified what criteria qualify as a risk as real and substantial, quoted. I thank the Scottish Government for setting out the basis for these criteria in its response to our report. We also considered potential human rights impacts relating to the bill. This was in regarding the restrictions on ambush marketing. We stated that a clear distinction must be drawn between activities with a commercial purpose, where restrictions would be justified, and activities with a social or political purpose, such as process, where the restrictions were not justified. We also recommended that the Scottish Government works with Glasgow City Council to monitor and report on any human rights impacts arising from this bill's provisions. In conclusion of our Stage 1 scrutiny, the committee supports the general principles of the bill, and I look forward to hearing the perspectives and contributions of colleagues in today's debate. I also want to reiterate my thanks to those who were involved in this process, particularly my committee colleagues. I think they might be slightly more excited about the Euros than I was, presiding officer. But nonetheless, this is going to be a great opportunity for Scotland and something we should all look forward to and wish Scotland, again, the very best. Thank you.
Thank you. I now call Stephen Kerr. Again, a generous 6 minutes. Mr Kerr.
Presiding Officer, of course, we all welcome the opportunity for Scotland to host an international sporting event of the prestige of the Euros. And Euro 2028 will be a platform to promote Scotland and showcase the warmth and hospitality of Scotland's people. Every one of us wants to see Scotland's men's team playing in the finals, but as we consider the bill, let's not be naive about what UEFA is. It is a powerful supranational corporation, unaccountable to any public body other than its own member associations. And the bill before us is, in essence, the domestic legal instrument through which Scotland delivers the guarantees demanded by UEFA. So we should proceed with eyes wide open, aware that we are implementing the conditions of a commercial contract, not designing policy from first principles. The bill's first substantive section, sections 2 to 4, criminalises the unauthorised sale or resale of championship tickets above face value or for profit, as mentioned by the Minister. The offence is summary only, punishable by a fine up to level 5 on a standard scale, which is currently £5,000. It applies to all matches played in Scotland, including any sold or advertised electronically, but crucially, it does not extend beyond the territory of Scotland. And that means that anyone operating an online resale platform outside Scotland or simply listing tickets on an external-based website falls outside the reach of this bill. The Government's own legal directorate confirmed that it lacks the extraterritorial competence required to go further. Now, we agree that touting is a scourge that prices fans out of major events. But fragmented national regulation invites exploitation. A UK-wide framework would close loopholes and simplify enforcement by Police Scotland and the Crown Office. The principle is right, but the scope is inadequate. There's also an issue of equity and common sense in how the offence is framed. UEFA and its authorised partners are exempt from touting, but from the touting ban, I beg your pardon, Presiding Officer, but community groups, schools and charities are not. Under this bill, a parent council raffling Euro 2028 tickets to raise funds, or a local hospice auctioning a pair of tickets at an event, would technically be committing a criminal offence. That can't be right. Charitable causes, especially those rooted in our local communities, should not be collateral damage in UEFA's effort to police its commercial rights. The exemption must be broadened to allow legitimate charitable fundraising. Now, sections 5 to 15 restrict unauthorised street trading and advertising within designated event zones around Hampden Park and the official fan zones. These zones and the prohibited times will later be defined by statutory instruments under the negative procedure. And Glasgow City Council, as has already been said, must publish guidance and offer alternative trading arrangements for licensed street traders displaced during the tournament. However, there is no provision for compensation to those traders or to small fixed premises businesses that may suffer loss of trade. In fact, the committee received communication from UEFA just yesterday saying that there was no intention to offer any legitimate compensation. Now, we recognise, because we have to, UEFA's legitimate commercial interest in preventing ambush marketing and protecting official sponsors. But local cafes, kiosks, stallholders who have traded for years in Mount Florida will see their peak earning period removed. If any compensation is due, it must come from UEFA, not from Scottish taxpayers. The party of business cannot support the public purse underwriting a multi-billion euro organisation. Now, the enforcement regime is set out in sections, of course.
Minister.
Can I thank the member for giving way and welcome his general welcome for the bill? Can he explain further how he thinks the cafe he cited in Mount Florida, giving an example, would lose out from this, just so I can understand his arguments?
Stephen Kerr.
Very simply, they would be asked to conduct their business in another location, which obviously would not be prime to their business interests, and they would be dislocated on the basis of the commercial interests of UEFA. That we should recognise. We should not lose sight of what the bill is in effect, as I said earlier. Now, the enforcement regime sets out in sections 16 to 28 grants designated enforcement officers, who may include local authority staff or contractors, powers to enter and search premises, vehicles or stalls, to seize or conceal goods, and to use reasonable force. Now, that is a serious departure from normal practice, because under the Civic Government Scotland Act 1982, entry without warrant is permitted only for immediate risk to public safety. Here, it would be exercised to protect branding rights. Now, I accept the government's argument that UEFA requires a rapid enforcement mechanism, but the absence of judicial oversight sits uneasily with long-established protections of property and due process in Scots law. Unless UEFA can demonstrate that a warrant requirement would breach its hosting criteria, these powers should be curtailed. Now, Presiding Officer, in conclusion, we will support the bill at stage 1, because without it, Scotland can't host Euro 2028. And we all want Scotland to host Euro 2028. But we support this bill on the clear understanding that the government must look more closely to tighten the enforcement provisions to restore warrant safeguards, press UEFA to contribute to a compensation scheme for displaced traders, and work with the UK government to deliver consistent ticket touting regulation across these islands. Euro 2028 will be a proud moment for Scotland. But as we welcome the world, let us uphold our principles: fairness, accountability, the rule of law, and respect for enterprise. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr Kerr. I now call Neil Bibby. Again, a generous 5 minutes, Mr Bibby.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. I'm pleased to take part in the Stage 1 debate on the UEFA European Championship Scotland Bill. And in the opening, I would like to join the convener of the Constitution Europe External Affairs and Culture Committee in thanking the witnesses and clerks for their support in drafting the committee's Stage 1 report. Scottish Labour has consistently supported the UK and Ireland hosting the 2028 Euros. I know many of us will be looking forward to welcoming this major event to Scotland. It's important to remember that when Glasgow hosted the 2020 Euros in 2021, many missed out due to COVID restrictions. Thankfully, there will be no such restrictions this time. Also, many children today, like my own son, were too young to properly remember the last championship on home soil. And this will provide them with an exciting opportunity to witness a major international tournament coming to their shores. It will, of course, also be an opportunity to host people from not just Europe but across the world through our shared love of football, and an opportunity for visitors to take time to explore our culture, our heritage and our rich history, and use it as a fantastic platform to promote Brand Scotland on the global stage. The economic benefits to Scotland, the rest of the UK and Ireland are substantial. The UK Department for Media, Culture and Sport estimates the tournament will contribute £2.4 billion in socio-economic value to the host nations. I'm pleased that alongside this, the UK Labour Government has recognised the importance of sport by pledging £900 million in funding as part of the Government's plan for change. Over £100 million will be used to support world-class sporting events, and crucially £400 million is being provided for grassroots sporting facilities to help more people get active, improve their well-being and discover the sporting talent of tomorrow. And I welcome what the Minister said about Scottish Government funding too. Scottish Labour fully supports the Euros being held in UK and Ireland in 2028 because we want to see more major international cultural and sporting events being hosted here in Scotland to boost our economy, raise our international profile and give people here the opportunity to witness world-class events. For these reasons, we encourage the Scottish Government and the UK Government to work together to bring the Commonwealth Games to Glasgow in 2026. And it's also why we fully support the UK Labour Government working with the football associations and devolved administrations to bring the Women's FIFA World Cup to the UK in 2035. These events contribute immense value to our society, well-being, economy and demonstrate the benefits of bringing them to Scotland and working with the rest of the UK to do so. And I think it is right for the Government to remain open, as the Minister said, to a major events framework bill in future. Scottish Labour supports the principles of the bill, as we recognise it is necessary legislation to meet our obligations to UEFA and secure the championships. However, the committee has pointed to several areas and issues of concern that should be addressed. Part of the reason for hosting these events is to ensure Scottish fans can access them without the cost of going abroad. And as members have already said, we must prevent ordinary fans being priced out, and we cannot allow people to make financial gains by reselling tickets at extortionate prices. That's why Scottish Labour will work with the Scottish Government and other parties to clamp down on ticket touting. We support the measures in the bill to do that, but we are very keen to ensure any loopholes that would disadvantage or exploit fans are addressed. During the committee, we also took evidence regarding concerns over restrictions on treat traders, which Stephen Kerr talked about there. It is vital that the Scottish Government maintains close dialogue with Glasgow City Council to ensure street traders are properly informed about any restrictions during the tournament and any negative impact is minimised. We agree with the committee's recommendation that measures relating to commercial activity must be limited and proportionate. And I do believe a proper impact assessment would be helpful and necessary to understanding how this can be done. And I welcome what the Minister on that has said about the Government's engagement with Glasgow City Council and Glasgow Life too. Further clarity regarding the warrantless access by enforcement officers would be welcome. I welcome what the Minister said about human rights and the rights of protest, but further clarity on what distinction will be drawn between commercial activity and social or political activity would also be welcome. I welcome what the Government has said, the Minister has said about working constructively with the UK Government to ensure there is alignment in terms of enforcement and delivery of the Games. Scottish Labour will support this bill at stage 1 and will work with the Minister and other parties to address any outstanding issues raised in the committee's report. With these clarifications addressed in the bill's later stages, Scottish Labour looks forward to supporting legislation that protects fans, supports local businesses and ensures that Scotland plays its part in hosting a successful and memorable UEFA European Championships in 2028.
Thank you, Mr Bibby. We move to the open debate, just to confirm to the Chamber that we've got a bit of time in hand, so members certainly taking interventions. We'll get time added on at the end of their contributions. With that, I call George Adam, to be followed by Brian Whittle. A similarly generous 6 minutes. Mr Adam.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. Presiding Officer, as someone who's followed Scotland both home and away and who proudly backs St Mirren from the Paisley Buddies in Paisley, I have a lot to say about our national game in general. I have a lot to say about it, and some might be shocked about what I'm actually speaking on today. I could be talking about the quality or lack of Scottish football refereeing, or VAR as a separate subsection of the same debate, or whether Scotland football fans should be allowed a pint at a game to watch the game. But today isn't about these very important issues regarding our national game. It's about hosting Euro 2028. And football, Presiding Officer, brings people... Yes, I will.
Stephen Kerr.
Intrigued me, Presiding Officer. I think I would quite like to hear, given we have the luxury of a few extra minutes, I think I would like to hear what George Adams' view is on giving our football fans the right to have a pint at a match, because that's something on this side of the chamber we'd very much support.
Being led astray, George Adam.
He would like to, but I'm sure the Presiding Officer would stop me from straying from the actual debating issues. But I do think it is something that we should discuss in this Parliament. going forward. But football brings people together, presiding officer, in between us all falling out about various aspects of the game, but it does bring people together. The Minister mentioned today's Armistice Day, and everyone knows the story of the first Christmas of the Great War in 1914. The Western Front systematically stopped fighting to meet in no man's land. They passed each other gifts, drinks and trinkets and things like that, but they played football, because football is the international language. It's what everyone understands. But I want the Euro 2028 in Glasgow to be a celebration of football, because I want it to be a celebration because there are some nations that claim football is going home when it goes to their nation. But when football comes to Scotland, we all know the modern and passing game of football was born in Glasgow, not far from the stadium that will be hosting the games. And it was the Great Queen's Park that actually brought us forward from the rugby-type game that was played in other parts of the home nations to the silky football that we now all see in Scotland on a regular basis. So I want Euro 2020. Yes?
Claire Adamson.
I thank George Adam for his comments. I wondered if he would like to also recognise the work of Elspeth King, who passed away sadly last week, and a very well-respected historian across this chamber, who in fact was the one who discovered and verified the first football at Stirling Castle as being the first football to be recognised.
George Adam.
And that would have been a very interesting game, but completely different from the game that Queen's Park obviously invented, the modern game. But I do recognise that part as well. So, you know, regardless of what we say and do here, Hampden will be bouncing when the games happen next year, or sorry, 2 years. Our job is to make sure that the law helps us host well-organised event while protecting people's rights and local livelihoods. Euro 2028 is more than a tournament. It's a showcase for Scotland to the world as a dynamic, welcoming, ambitious nation. Independent analysis suggests that £2.6 billion in socio-economic benefits across the UK and Ireland, with real opportunities for tourism, hospitality to benefit here in Scotland. But this bill, as others have said, does three main things. It bans ticket touting for profit, it controls street trading in event zones at set times, and it prevents ambush advertising around Euro 2028. It also sets out clear enforcement powers and a sunset clause so that special measures lapse after the tournament. Presiding Officer, let me start with ticket touting. The committee heard clear evidence on whether we are actually tackling modern online resale that sits outside Scotland. The 2025 bill removes the extraterritorial element that existed in 2020, so that the question remains, what practical coordination is in place across the UK with platforms to stop profiteering that prices ordinary fans out the game? Fans shouldn't be outbid by bots and scalpers when all they want to see is their country play. The committee has highlighted that if we need a published cross-border plan with operational guidance from Police Scotland and their counterparts, we should say so and get this done. On exemptions, the committee has questioned the drafting that allows UEFA to sell tickets, as they must, and they have the right to do so. I share the concern we need absolute clarity that does not create a loophole for individuals to personally profit, regardless of who they are and where they got the tickets. The intent is to enable proper distribution, not to open the door to officials touting tickets. I'm passionate about beating ticket touts, whoever they are, but equally I recognise that commercial revenue generated from UEFA and their corporate partners does support our beautiful game. But tightening the explanatory notes or guidance here should give fans confidence the system is fair and they're getting value for money on tickets and merchandise. On the issue of street trading, I've come and gone quite round the houses on this one, because Glasgow's traders do help make our big occasions special. Who hasn't heard at various Scotland games, get your hats, scarves and flags here at many a game? But I think there's a place where they need to be worked with Glasgow City Council to ensure that they get an opportunity to do this elsewhere. Because equally, UEFA and their sponsors are spending quite a lot of money on this as well. On advertising, ambush marketing shouldn't be allowed to hijack the tournament, but the committee has been clear we must draw a line between commercial promotion and social or political expression. Peaceful non-commercial protest is part of Scotland's democratic life and should not be chilled by event rules. That balance, firm or commercial infringement, careful with civil liberties, is essential, Presiding Officer. And I feel I've taken quite a bit of your time at this stage.
I can advise, Mr Adam, that the clerks in VAR have reminded me that it's 4 minutes for opening speeches, open debate speeches, not 6. So I would be grateful if you could begin.
So I'm into overtime here as we speak. So very quickly, Presiding Officer, football belongs to its supporters first and foremost. As a St Mirren fan and as a Scotland supporter, I want kids, families and lifelong fans to get in at fair prices, for local businesses to benefit and for their rights to be respected. With tighter clarity on online touting, coordination, precise exemptions, practical support for traders and proportionate enforcement, this bill can deliver that balance. Let's make Euro 2028 not just a great tournament at Hampden, but a tournament that feels like Scotland. Fair, welcoming and proud.
Thank you, Mr Adam. Apologies for that slight misdirection. I call Brian Whittle to be followed by Paul McGlennon in around 4 minutes. Mr Whittle.
Thank you. And now, back on time. Always a pleasure to follow George Adams when we're discussing football. Deputy Presiding Officer, I'm sure it won't surprise members that I am pleased to be speaking in a debate about bringing a major international sporting event to Scotland. I've spoken many times about the influence of sport, and if I get another opportunity to say it again, about culture, how it brings culture, how it brings resilience, and goodness knows do our Scottish supporters sometimes need resilience. It brings togetherness and confidence, and it can engender aspiration and hope and community. Not just to talk about health, but bringing these sort of international sporting events to Scotland are part of a jigsaw that can help us move from a nation of sporting watchers to a nation of participation. But as other speakers have already alluded to, Euro 2028 offers Scotland an exceptional opportunity to show itself off on a world stage, not only on the pitch but more widely across the country too. Football holds a special place in the hearts of many Scots, and Scotland's Tartan Army, as always, are great ambassadors for us across the world. Euro 2028 is an opportunity for us to welcome football fans from around the world to our shores, and I know that all of us on these benches want to see us making the most of that opportunity. Which is why, as my colleague Stephen Kerr has already alluded to, we have a responsibility to ensure that our preparations, including this legislation, leave us ready to be a welcoming and effective host. That means being not only a good host to the tournament and to the many international visitors it brings, but also ensuring that the tournament is both welcoming and welcomed by Scots. There are unquestionably some aspects of this bill which cause concern in that regard, and while I appreciate there are requirements which UEFA and other international sporting bodies demand of any host country on issues like ticket touting, street trading and advertising, I am conscious that some of the powers being granted here seem a tad heavy-handed. So I am pleased that this legislation is being presented well in advance of the event, noting that a lack of time for communication with the public was highlighted as an issue with the previous legislation for the 2020 Euros. Most people will not necessarily notice the effects of this legislation, but for those that it does affect, it's critical sufficient time and effort is used to inform them. The broad restrictions on street trading and advertising, while understandable, do raise questions about how the Scottish Government and UEFA balance the commercial interests of the tournament against giving established local traders an opportunity to benefit from that increased footfall. That is a balance which many major sporting events, from the Olympics to the Open Championships, struggle with, but that alone cannot be an excuse for local traders taking a financial penalty. On ticket touting, while I agree that reselling tickets at vastly inflated rates to desperate fans is an issue that needs to be addressed, I would argue that legislating piecemeal for specific events feels like an ineffective approach in the long run. This may be an issue which only rises in the public consciousness when we read the reports of resellers offering tickets for major concerts or sporting events at ludicrous premiums. But it is one which should be tackled. The passion that fans have should not be an opportunity for touts to exploit. Both the Scottish and the UK governments should do more to protect fans from this cynical practice. In fact, it will take a unified approach from all of UEFA members if ticket touting is to be tackled effectively. Deputy Presiding Officer, I want to see Euro 2028 come to Scotland and succeed. But a successful tournament must be one that brings benefits to Scotland long after the football circus has packed up and left town. If it becomes an event that lands in the country, closes itself off from the economy, disrupts lives and livelihoods for no lasting gain, then I would not judge it a success. Just as I have spoken previously about the importance of legacy from fantastic events like the Commonwealth Games, so too must we consider the legacy of Euro 2028. This bill is an opportunity to do that, because legacy isn't necessarily just about investing in shiny new facilities or supporting grassroots sport, which obviously I welcome all of that. Legacy is also in the memory of the event. Was there a welcoming atmosphere? Did Scots feel part of it? These questions matter, and I hope they are ones the Scottish Government will consider as this bill progresses. Deputy Presiding Officer.
Thank you, Mr Whittle. I now call Paul McLennan to be followed by Davy Russell around 4 minutes. Mr McLennan.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. It's a pleasure to speak in the debate this afternoon. Football is our national sport. It's a passion for many of us in Scotland. I had lots of passion on Saturday watching Hibs beat the mighty St Mirren 3-0 after failing to do so last season, and I'm taking my life in my hands here mentioning that to George. And I could also remember, and this is showing my age, going back to 1984 when Scotland beat Spain 3-1. Kenny Dalglish turning away and scoring that memorable goal. I was at Hampden that particular day. I coached professionally for 11 years with Hibs and was lucky enough to visit Holland, Germany, Denmark, Portugal in my coaching career, sharing ideas, discussing methods of coaching. Football is a global language. It's a dream for every academy player to play for Scotland. I had the pleasure of coaching players who have then went on and to play for Scotland. And I know there's young players in the academies now who are targeting Euro 2028 as an opportunity. And I remember watching a young Billy Gilmore when he played for Rangers many years ago, thinking he was a fantastic player. And you see where he is now. My son follows in my footsteps. He's now coaches at Nottingham Forest, having been at Hearts and Celtic. And we were talking about legacies, and I think one of the key things is that legacy that it leaves football, and Scottish football supporters topped the European attendance chart for a third year running this year. The SPFL mentioned it cites a UEFA report saying that football fans across Scotland have recorded significantly higher top-flight attendances per capita than any other league in Scotland, in Europe, and that's something we should be proud of. The report was launched in 2023, and UEFA's European Club Talent and Competition report revealed that the Scottish Premiership's 18.5 attendees per 1,000 people at matches last season, and that's a 5% increase, and it's 70% higher than any other league in Europe. Portugal's Premier League sits in second place with 10.7 attendees, and in Netherlands' Eredivisie third with 9.77 attendees. England's Premier League has 6.97 attendees per 1,000 people. So around 4 million fans attended top-flight matches in Scotland last term. That's the 8th highest in Europe. I was lucky enough to attend the two last European Championships, 2021 in Scotland and 2024 in Germany. And I was there with my wife, my son, my daughter and their two partners. The memory of singing Flower at Scotland at Allianz Arena in Munich in the first game of Championships, it was incredible. The build-up to the game with Germany supporters was great, singing and enjoying German hospitality. And of course, our support is incredible, and it drove tourism to Scotland. The game itself, unfortunately, was only fine for 10 minutes, but hey. Hosting Euro 2028 is, of course, an opportunity to build on Scotland's strong track record of delivering major events. The bill, I think, enables Scotland to play its part in hosting Euro 2028 to ensure Scotland meets the host nation requirements of UEFA. And of course, it's there to protect us from exploitation, ticket touting, unauthorised trading and so on. And the Scottish Government has obviously worked with partners and obviously key stakeholders in the Parliament here as well. It does take action on ticket touting, as we've heard. It prohibits the unauthorised sale of championship tickets above the face cost of profit, and this of course will apply to all matches. And of course there's an exception for auction of tickets to raise funds for charity. It does prohibit unauthorised street trading and advertising in designated event zones. And George Adam is right when he mentions it in about hats and scarves for sale. You hear that every Scotland game you to go to. I think it's been mentioned by a few members. There is a balance to be had in terms of that, because you do have local business. I think it needs to see the benefit of that coming to Scotland as well. And of course, it does set criminal offences for ticket touting, unauthorised card trading and advertising. And of course, there will be an offence for obstructing an enforcement officer in terms of that. Now, in Scotland, on Saturday, Scotland will be playing Greece and Denmark next Tuesday, where I'll be heading to Hampden to hopefully cheer on Scotland to World Cup qualifications. So hopefully before Euro 2028 we'll be cheering on Scotland as it heads to USA, Canada and Mexico for the World Cup in 2026. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr McLennan. I now call David Russell to be followed by Bill Kidd in 4 minutes. Mr Russell.
Thank you, Deputy Presiding Officer. Of course, I welcome the Scottish Government getting ahead of the game here and bringing in this proposed legislation. I know that I was involved in the Commonwealth Games. We were told in 2008 it was going to happen, and the 6th year went Zoom. It was really quick. But prior preparation work paid off in the end, and I'm sure that the organisers will appreciate the action that you're actually going to take here. I know in Glasgow, which I was heavily involved in up until I took a political career on, that the staff take major events as business as usual, because they have so many major events, whether it be football, back to the Commonwealth Games or the cycling championships. It's just business as usual for them, and they've got to be commended in the way that they carry out these duties. I joined the committee in asking for the Scottish Government to consider bringing in generic legislation to cover large events, and basically it saves a lot of wasted time. If like we have another event, the Women's Championships will be in 2035 possibly. That I think it would be tailor-made to large events better, rather than just specifically for the football. And this covers like advertising and security provisions, so that we don't necessarily just waste Parliament time for every single event. And I'd like to take the opportunity to mention to the Scottish Government that basically, while we haven't seen proposals for the women's events, that basically we liaise just now with the SFA to ensure that women's football in Scotland is adequately represented as well. The proposed limitations on the profiting from ticket sales is welcome, while as the mentioned across the chamber there about the effect on charities who may be auctioning tickets or that. So I think that we should take that into consideration as well. However, I'm also keen to hear how the Scottish Government can work with the organisers to make sure that there's a selection of affordable tickets made available through probably schools, local clubs and tickets with a range of disability facilities, so that it can be as inclusive as possible. And finally, I wanted to remind members of some of the disappointing actions of the minority of football fans during the 2020 Euro finals. Obviously, it was held in 2021 because of COVID, but I'd like to see assurances that this kind of behaviour won't be seen in 2028. And I believe this is a discussion for ministers to have between the organisers, the council and the police. My thanks to the committee for their oversight at this early stage. I think more work is needed to provide assurances to market traders and local businesses and fans, especially in the communication of the proposed legislation. However, I am quite happy to support the general principles of the bill at stage 1.
Thank you, Mr Russell. I now call the final speaker in the open debate, Bill Kidd. Around 4 minutes, Mr Kidd.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. Now, as we've heard, the UEFA European Championship Scotland Bill provides the legal framework necessary for hosting part of Euro 2028 here in Scotland. It ensures that commercial rights, ticketing, trading and advertising are regulated in line with UEFA's requirements, which doesn't suit everybody entirely, but that is something important that we talk about. Now, while these are important practical measures, ensuring fairness, protecting fans from exploitation and maintaining the integrity of the event, I believe that today's debate, and indeed any discussion around the Euros, needs to go further than simply regulation. It must focus on the question of legacy. What lasting impact will Euro 2028 have for the people of Scotland once the final whistle blows? As Professor David McGilvary of University of West of Scotland reminds us, all major sporting events produce legacies, some positive, some not. The difference lies in how deliberately we plan for them. A lasting legacy will not emerge by chance. It requires foresight, investment and coordination between government, local authorities and sporting bodies from the outset. The Minister has rightly noted that the projected economic benefit could be as high as £2.6 billion across the whole of the UK, but economic figures alone don't tell the full story. We must ensure that the benefits of this investment translate into real outcomes for our communities in participation, well-being, inclusion and pride. Glasgow's got a strong record in this regard. From the 2014 Commonwealth Games to the 2023 UCI Cycling World Championships, we've seen how hosting global events can raise our international profile and deliver infrastructure improvements. But the lesson from those experiences is clear. Legacy doesn't just happen, it has to be built. That means using the inspiration of Euro 2028 to strengthen grassroots football across Scotland. It means improving access to facilities so that every young person, regardless of background, gender or ability, can take part in sport. It means working with schools and communities to promote health, fitness and social inclusion through football. The tournament's slogan, "Football for all, football for good, football for the future," should guide our approach. We must live up to those words, ensuring that public money invested in this event delivers returns in terms of health, opportunity and social cohesion. The legacy must be felt in every corner of Scotland, not just at Hampden Park or in the hospitality sector, but in local clubs, youth programmes, communities that see football as a force for good. Presiding Officer, this is about accountability. Public funding is being committed, and it's our duty to make sure that it's not spent solely on making our stadium shine for the cameras. Instead, it must help create a framework for lasting community benefit through sport, through inclusion and through pride in the place that we live. In evidence to the committee, the Minister highlighted that the impact of the benefits gained for the tournament will be spread across Scotland and thereby further a number of national outcomes. Could this be expanded on today? I would welcome that indeed if this was. I would also support calls for a future debate in this chamber dedicated specifically to the legacy planning for Euro 2028 to ensure transparency, coordination and a clear strategy that aligns with our national outcomes on health, community well-being and participation, because when the stands are empty and the visitors have gone home and the cameras have turned elsewhere, what will remain is the Scotland we built through this opportunity. If we do it right, that Scotland will be healthier, more active and more united. Let's Euro 2028 not just be a great tournament, and it will be, but a great opportunity, an opportunity to secure a win for all of us. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr Kidd. We now move to closing speeches. I call first Alec Rowley, around 4 minutes. Mr Rowley.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. It's been, I think, a consensus across the chamber that the 2028 tournament will be good for Scotland, good for Ireland and good for the UK overall. The Minister, when he opened, talked about Armistice Day, and interestingly this morning I was reading the local Fife Times where they were reporting on a game between veterans and Serving Black Watch members that took place in my home village of Kelty on Saturday. It raised quite a bit of money for Poppy Scotland, and after the game they proceeded to the War Memorial and laid a wreath. But it's that point about football and how football like many sports, but football certainly in Scotland, brings people together. And it's worth remembering that at the last Euros in Germany, the Tartan Army, the Scotland fans, were praised to the highest from every community that they went to, the party atmosphere, the good atmosphere. And, you know, at a time when we see so much division in our country and division in the world, then football has a key role to play and can play a key role in bringing people together. The Minister also talked about Scotland having that global reputation for hosting events, and it was a point that Davy Russell made in terms of the staff that gear up for these events. And yes, we should thank the staff, as Davy Russell did do, and I think recognise that actually the authority that will have the greatest role to play in 2028 with the support of the Scottish Government is Glasgow City Council and its staff. So I think, you know, the guarantee we would want from this Parliament is that Glasgow City Council will receive the support that they need to actually carry out the function of this event. I was speaking to someone about this particular bill the other day, and they raised a question with me about Hampden and infrastructure. And I think this is something that the Minister should be looking at in terms of the infrastructure that's in place. Because the example that lady gave me was that she attended events at Murrayfield. So Murrayfield hosted all these big events, the large music concerts, races during the summer, and the transport links. And someone else in here drew to my attention as well, the transport links in terms of Hampden, and in particular rail track. So I would hope that the Minister would agree that we look at what other infrastructure improvements need to be made to ensure that the proper infrastructure is in place. I thought that Stephen Kerr made some interesting points, one being that we need to pass this bill in order for these games to go ahead, but it is protecting the commercial interests of UEFA. And again, I think in terms of some of the tradespeople that will lose out in terms of this, that it is again for Glasgow City Council to work with those people because this event just won't happen on the day. This event, there'll be a build-up to it. There'll be real opportunities, business opportunities, and I would hope that we can work with Glasgow City Council to ensure that street traders are able to not lose out, and there will be opportunities for them. Bill Kidd, I think, made a really important point, which is this legacy and what do we do. The reality is that sport, football, is the national sport in Scotland. I talked about my home village, but I live near a public park, and every night of the week it is full of young children playing, boys' teams, girls' teams. Loads of that is dependent on the coaches, which is often parents, but people who love the game, giving up their time to coach and support young people. So I hope part of the legacy of this can be to recognise the work that goes on at a voluntary basis, but actually to put much more support in place to encourage that growth. And maybe then we will be qualifying, hopefully, for these games, but maybe then we can have the ambition of one day winning a European Cup and a World Cup if we invest in grassroots sports now. So hopefully that will be the legacy that Bill Kidd speaks about. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr Rowley. I now call Jamie Halker-Johnson again, around 4 minutes. Mr Halker.
Thank you, Deputy Presiding Officer. Can I firstly declare an interest in this debate as a football fan and a supporter of current Scottish Cup holders Aberdeen? No cheers? Oh, it's a shame.
Oh dear.
And current UEFA Europa League winners Tottenham Hotspur. Oh, it's a tough crowd. It has been an interesting debate, and I mean, firstly, started off with George Adam signing up to Stephen Kerr's new campaign to take football fans to be able to enjoy a pint at games. I'm looking forward to Mr Adam hosting Stephen Kerr in Paisley. and being able to extract a pint out of him, although that may be a challenge. Sorry, Diet Coke.
Diet Coke on there.
Oh,
George Adam.
I've started too controversially.
No, it was just quickly to say I've been working on the idea of having alcohol at football matches for some time. But one of the things is St Mirren having a pilot on pre-game, so I'm quite happy to invite Mr Kerr along to that, and him and I can have a friendly couple of pints before a game against his own team.
Jamie Halker-Johnson.
Mr Adam taking advantage of a free bar there. I think that's very impressive. Can I just join with colleagues thanking the committee and other committee colleagues, and obviously our clerks for all of their efforts, and of course members from across the chamber who are welcoming Euro 2028 coming to the UK and to Ireland. Euro 2028 will be a tournament with global reach and interest, and one that puts Scotland firmly on the world stage, and we can look forward not only to it bringing considerable economic benefits, but also, and I'm sure we all hope, delivering an enduring sporting legacy for years to come, something that, and I know Brian Whittle touched on, and that hasn't always been the case with other major events. The joint bid featuring all of the home nations in the Republic of Ireland was first raised in 2022. Moving it forward successfully has demonstrated positive cooperation between the football associations and also the governments of these islands. Now, Scotland has some experience of large-scale sporting events, but it's important that Euro 2028 serves to underline Scotland as a world-leading host nation for the future, as we've done before with the successful delivery events for the London 2012 Olympics and the 2014 Commonwealth Games in Glasgow. And to turn to the legislation, as many have noted, we've been here before. Similar legislation was brought forward as part of Euro 2020 hosting bid, and similar sorts of legislative change were required in relation to the Commonwealth Games. And as a member of the Lead Committee, I'd like to put on record my thanks for all those who gave evidence again in Stage 1. There has, of course, been the question raised by the committee about the necessity of what the Scottish Government has tentatively dubbed a Major Events Bill to provide a legislative framework for future events, rather than having them addressed piecemeal whenever Scotland is playing host. And there is some merit to this proposal, and I'm pleased that the Scottish Government has left the door open to look at this in more detail in the future. Some of the same issues arise as did in 2020. As my colleague Stephen Kerr noted, this is a bill that legislates with a nakedly commercial purpose. It applies different rules for Euro 2028 than it does for other events, and different approaches, some that have been understandably controversial. He also pointed to the absurd outcomes, in part, that a charity raffling off a ticket could fall foul of the offences in this bill, and cautioned on the ticket touting issue that cross-border work will be essential. I'm pleased the assurances the Scottish Government has given that policing will, in practice, be proportionate, but that is, of course, no substitute for rigorous legislating. There's been a discussion about the impact on street trading and advertising, including by the committee. And this is, again, nothing new. Similar concerns were raised in relation to the 2020 Act. However, as Stephen Kerr noted, there is ample scope for ensuring that costs do not fall on traders and other innocent parties whose businesses may be disruptive. And I doubt anyone in this chamber wishes to see anything less than firm consultation and collaboration between government, communities, the police, the City Council and local businesses. However, this must be planned for and become a practical reality over the coming months and years. If I can touch very briefly to my colleague Brian Whittle, he talked about the passion of fans and how that shouldn't be exploited by touts, and again I think we would all agree with that. And he touched on legacy, not just about the shiny things I think he suggested were, but also about how it's left in the memories of Scots. And I remember, and I'm sure we all do, some of the first tournaments that we watched on television or we were lucky enough to attend. And I certainly hope that that is an opportunity for many young Scots, many young boys and girls who are able to attend these events and be able to experience these events firsthand. I think it's absolutely vital for ensuring that legacy and that opportunity. Presiding Officer, this bill will see widespread support as a result of the enthusiasm for the UK and Ireland Euros. But the work of this committee and the remarks from around this chamber today are aimed at recognising this bill and the tournament more generally will have an impact. And we ought to consider not just the cost of the public sector, but the potential disruption to people's lives and businesses, and particularly the impact to local residents in Glasgow. So as the bill goes through its coming stages, I hope that we can recognise some of the elements mentioned in the Stage 1 report and, where possible, enhance the positives and soften the negatives of an event of this scale coming to Scotland.
Thank you, Mr Halker-Johnson. I call on the Minister to wind up the debate in 5 minutes. Minister.
Thank you, Deputy Presiding Officer. Thank you to everyone for their contributions. There have been some ups and downs in the debate. Firstly, Jamie Halcrow-Johnson went up in my estimation for the first time, I think, when he said he was an Aberdeen fan. Paul McLennan went down in my estimation when he reminded us he was a Hibs fan, because the last home game I was at Pittodrie a few days ago, Hibs beat Aberdeen 2-1. It wasn't the best of experiences. But I really enjoyed everyone's contributions. A lot of really serious issues brought to the Chamber. And again, I want to thank the committee for their engagement on this issue. And of course, that will continue at stage 2. And I also join others in paying tribute to Glasgow City Council, Glasgow Life and Police Scotland and other partners who've done so much to bring all this together, but of course have so much to do as we move forward. And I was going to pick up on a few of the issues in the few minutes I have available to me. But firstly, I would just say that this is a really exciting opportunity for Scotland. And if you look at the fact we've got the Commonwealth Games coming up in Scotland, then we've got the Grand Départ of the Tour de France coming up in Scotland as well, then we've got Euro 2028, and in between all of that, we've got the Open returning to St Andrews, and other events, no doubt, taking place across the country as well. It's a massive, massive international stage for Scotland over the next 3 years, and also a huge economic opportunity as well, and cultural opportunity. So it's a very exciting few years coming up for Scotland, and today we're debating, of course, one aspect of that, which is Euro 2028.
Brian Whittle.
For the Minister for giving way. I think Paul McLaren highlighted the fact that we are extraordinarily good at watching sport. What I would say is that in the one thing that 2014, I disagree with Bill Kidd, we never made the most of the legacy opportunity there. In fact, the legacy from 2014, actually by accident, is we're getting 2026. So what are the Scottish Government to do to ensure that we make the most of that legacy in sporting terms?
Minister.
Well, it's a very important issue, and it's been reflected by the contributions from a number of members, and that's something the Scottish Government takes very seriously. I already mentioned in my opening remarks the £45 million fund for social impact that will apply across these islands plus Ireland, and clearly the detail of that and how it will be allocated and so on will be worked out in the coming months, and indeed there will be more announcements from UEFA and the home nations, etc., very shortly. And more will be said about that. But we do have to take that very, very seriously as well. Indeed, Alec Rowley and others mentioned issues around affordability and accessibility. Again, the Scottish Government agrees that this tournament has to be inclusive and accessible. I should point out that UEFA previously made efforts to offer affordable tickets. In Euro 2024, over 1 million tickets were available for €60 or less, with entry-level pricing at €30. And also UEFA say they reinvest 97.5% of its net revenue back into football, including grassroots development and social programmes as well. And of course, we'll be looking carefully at how that pans out over the next few years in Scotland. There were a number of issues raised I just want to refer to. Firstly, can I tell Stephen Kerr, I'm not picking on him, there's a couple of issues I'd just like to clarify that he raised in his opening remarks. Firstly, the cafe in Mount Florida is safe. This is about street trader licences, not fixed premises. As others have said, it's important we take into account the issues around street traders. That could be food trucks or people selling scarves, I guess, or whatever that others have mentioned. And as we've said before, Glasgow City Council are working closely with those street traders, and they'll be offered alternative locations potentially, and the fee for those licences will be waived in those circumstances. But more will be said about that by Glasgow City Council in the coming months, and guidance will be issued to local businesses as well, including businesses in fixed premises within the fan zones and the stadium zone as well. So that's the facts. And also in terms of ticket touting, which a number of members raised, it's really important that people do have fair access to fair prices for their tickets, and that's why it's really important we tackle ticket touting as well. I should point out again, just in relation to Stephen Kerr's comment, the actual figures are that the maximum penalty is an unlimited fine on conviction on indictment, and that's a £20,000 limit for summary conviction, not £5,000, as Stephen Kerr indicated. Last time around, in Euro 2020, it was £5,000. But as George Adam pointed out, technology has moved on, which is making ticket touts perhaps use that technology for their own means, and therefore that's why the higher fine, I think, is very appropriate in this circumstance. So hopefully that will be a disincentive to ticket touts as well. In terms of charity exceptions, of course, Part of the debate started off there should be no exemptions for charities, but now we have put in an exemption for charities, and therefore Stephen Kerr says it doesn't go far enough. But we have to somehow make it easy to implement, and therefore there are official registers of charities in Scotland. So when it comes to the enforcement agencies looking at who can be exempt, they have to refer to that list of charities. So I think we've taken a fair and proportionate approach to the charity exemption. Other countries do that, some don't, but we are doing it because we think it's the right thing to do, is to give an exemption to charities. I'll take a brief intervention if there's time.
Briefly, Stephen Kerr.
Prepared, though, to look closely at the issue of community-based charities that are not going to have an Oscar registration and therefore could be criminalised if they try, as I'm sure many of them would plan to raise money for good causes in the community by raffling tickets. Would he look more closely at that? And can he also comment in relation to ticket touting, if you would, the efforts the Scottish Government is going to secure cooperation with the UK Government and other jurisdictions in the United Kingdom so that we can deal with this holistically rather than partially with the limitations on territoriality?
Minister, if you could be
in terms of
winding up.
Ticket touting outside of Scotland's borders, yes, that is something that's been discussed with the UK Government, and I'm sure more will be said publicly and informed about the outcome of that and indeed the relevant committees in due course. And in terms of the charity exemption, it has to be easy to implement and it has to be enforceable, and therefore we are doing a good thing in Scotland by introducing a charity exemption. As I think we've got this right. Of course, there's a stage 2 coming and we can have further debates and discussions, and I am happy to meet members from other parties as we approach stage 2. That offer's open. There's some meetings in diary already with other political parties as we head towards stage 2, and we can discuss any of those issues that members want to raise with me as we move forward. But I think I'm running out of time. I just want to really say this is a massive opportunity for Scotland. To be a host nation, we have to pass this legislation, as many people have said in the Chamber today, to have this exciting opportunity. 3 million tickets will be available for matches across the UK and Ireland. During Euro 2024, over 600,000 fans participated in fan walks from designated meeting points to stadiums, creating a vibrant, unified fan experience. Perhaps we'll see that again with Euro 2028. Euro 2024 had around 2.7 million ticket holders across 51 matches, with fans from over 119 countries. So perhaps we'll experience those benefits in Scotland as well in 2028. And Euro 2024 had a cumulative global audience exceeding 5 billion viewers. So what an opportunity for Scotland to showcase itself in Euro 2028, as well as, of course, the other sporting occasions that I mentioned that are happening over the next 3 years. So thank you to Parliament today for their contributions, and I move the motion that the Parliament agrees to the general principles of the UEFA European Championship Scotland Bill.
Thank you very much, Minister. That concludes the debate on UEFA European Championship Scotland Bill at stage 1.